What's up, everyone? It's your boy NornRad89 here. It's officially Halloween hangover month. The month of October is over. Halloween is gone, and we have to wait another year for it. But this does start another favorite time of my year is like we're going into Thanksgiving and Christmas. I do love the holiday time, but there is a part of me that does feel very somber and sad that we do have to wait another year for Halloween. But of course, we're going to keep up the spooky content here at NornRad89, where today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite modern horror films. And I think, all of these are films that have come out in the 2010s and on. So these are all recent horror films, and these are some of my favorites of this era. But just to soften the blow of Halloween being gone, let's grab, a little bit of candy today. Maybe, soften that blow. We did have a decent amount of trick-or-treaters this year, actually. We had about 5 or 6 groups of trick-or-treaters. So it was popping more than it was the previous year. Let's get on to this video about modern day horror films. Roll it. So when I'm talking modern horror, I'm talking about horror films that, like I said, have come out from the 2010s to now 2025. So all these films have come out in the last 15 years. Let's kick this list off with the only one that I don't own, and that's Late Night with the Devil. This one stars David Dastmalchian, who plays Jack Delroy, who is a late night TV show host who decides to, on Halloween night, to get better views and more audience members and just become the #1 show on late night. He decides to have a seance and invite a girl that they say is possessed, or that is being possessed, they say, and he invites her on for a Halloween night to go through a seance. This is definitely one of those films that David Dastmalchian just is a absolute tour de force. There's some really cool effects in here, and I love the fact that it does feel like you're in the late 70s and a late night TV show host. It fits that vibe almost like kind of like WNUF Halloween Special. Like, it just sucks you out of the time period you're in. And Late Night with the Devil, like I said, puts you in that Tonight Show late 70s vibe. And David Dastmalchian, like, definitely as Jack Delroy, one of his best characters I think he's ever portrayed on screen. Next up, we have Hereditary, one of the best witch subgenre films that we've gotten in most recent years. The performances in here are absolutely powerful and potent. This is a film that is dripping with atmosphere, and it is very, very creepy. I wouldn't say this film is scary to me, but it definitely has a creepy vibe, and I have a lot of friends that have this as the best modern horror film that's come out in the last 10 years, and it's hard to argue that because there's so many good scares in this film. And like I said, in terms of performances, some of the best that we've ever gotten in the horror genre, and this film goes for it. This is a dark film that has a brooding ending, and it just rips your heart out. And like I said, what happens to this family? Damn, you do not want to be part of this family. Next up is Influencer, and why I mainly wanted to bring this one up is because there is a sequel coming out, Influencers, that I'm very highly excited for, where we're going to be getting to see CW, our antagonist in this character. We're going to get to see her again. That's going to be very exciting. But why Influencer is on this list is because when I think of modern horror, when I think of films about technology or AI or the uses of technology and what you can do, Influencer is definitely one of those films that, to me, this is scary. Like Child's Play, the remake, or Megan, like that stuff's not scary. That's more far-fetched type shit. This one actually feels this is reality. This somebody could get obsessed with you. They could stalk your social media, hack into your stuff and take over your life. This one is pretty creepy. Like I said, Influencer, I highly recommend. Definitely one of the best in terms of modern horror, like I said, and using technology, which is a big thing for me because I'm not huge on having cell phones in films or just modern films. Sometimes it bothers me because that limits what you can do with your scares. But this is a film that shows you what you can accomplish with technology as a main horror, piece of your movie. Now we have a modern vampire tale, and that's going to be Nosferatu. Nosferatu is definitely my favorite version. This one right here that came out in 2024, my favorite version of this story when I think of gothic horror and just the way that the cinematography is and the dark fantasy nature of this film. Oh, it's dripping with atmosphere, gothic atmosphere, and I love it. And I think all the performances in here are great. You know what I mean? Lily Rose Depp, we have Skarsgård, we have Nicholas Hoult, William Dafoe. Everybody in this film goes for it. And I said how dark this film is, but there is kind of a, soft kind of love vibe to this film. You know what I mean? Like a true love vibe and stuff. So it's sad, it's gripping, it's emotional, but I understand why some people might not like this because this is very period piece setting. You know, the way Robert Eggers does his stories, he really does the dialogue and the wording and all the writing is very to the time. So if you're not into period pieces, you might not be into this film, but I absolutely love this freaking movie. Next up, this is going to be a 3 films that are all in the same universe, and I wanted to talk about these ones because Ty West is my favorite modern horror director. When I think of Kings of Horror right now, the two that I think of is Ty West and Mike Flanagan. Those are two guys that are just putting out banger after banger, and everything that they're contributing to the horror genre, I love. They are at the top of their game. And like I said, we're talking about Ty West, so we're going to be discussing Pearl, X, and Maxine. So why I love this trilogy is because this is literally like an unsung hero of horror. We had no idea as horror fans that we were going to get this trilogy. At first, we were just getting X, which is a nice film that goes all the way back to the 70s, harkens back to those sexploitation type films, but adding a little bit of Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes with a fantastic, beautiful cast. You know, Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, the two great scream queens that we have now in modern horror. And in terms of the brutality of this film and the vibes and the music, Ty West just knows how to play with his audience. He just knows how to take you on a journey through some gruesome, gory stuff, but you love it. Like, you love the journey, and that's what I feel with X. But we had no idea that they shot another film. It was like, oh my God, COVID locked them down. They were stuck there for, I believe, another couple weeks, and they ended up shooting Pearl, which is a prequel. So I also think it's fantastic that we got the second installment in the story first. Then we go all the way back to Pearl to learn more about her character, and a lot of people's favorite. This is like most people's favorite in the franchise. And I would say in terms of the 3 films on a technical level, and just if I'm thinking about a film in general, I would say this is probably the best one, but X is more my vibe in terms of horror films and what I want from my horror films, and it's more gruesome and gory, like slasher style. So that's why I like X. But Pearl is a tragic story where you follow this character that you are kind of rooting for. You really want the best for her, but you know where it's going to go, and it's kind of sad to see the tragedy and just see the downfall mentally of this character. So Pearl is fantastic. Then we have Maxine, where we finish off Maxine's story. And another reason why I love this trilogy is because all 3 of these films are very different in tone, execution, and everything. But Ty West is such a lover of this genre of horror that he's able to bring to you a fantastic trilogy that fits. Like I said, they fit together, and it's a really good one. But every single one of these is a different tone, where Maxine is more like a giallo tone, murder mystery type film. And this one has some really hammy performances, especially when we get into that third act. It was one of those third acts that I kind of had to watch multiple times to really love it. But Maxine is a very strong film in this franchise as well. And like I said, this is one of the best horror trilogies that we've ever had. Now we're going to go to some sci-fi horror, and we're going to talk about Prey. And this is a great film because this one launched the Predator franchise into be back on the map. The Predator franchise and the Alien franchise are firing really on all cylinders. There's some great content out there right now, and Prey is a perfect example of a modern horror film where we have a protagonist character that goes through trials and tribulations and actually learns and uses her brain to outsmart the Predator, and I love that. This is a film with a final girl who actually has some wits behind her and uses traps and uses her skills to take down the Predator. And this film has some really good kills, a great vibe, and I think this is probably, like I said, my second favorite Predator film of all time. Like, the only one that beats this is the Arnold Schwarzenegger one from back in the day, and that's because a lot of it is that film hit hard. It has a great score, and I do have a lot of nostalgia for that film, but Prey climbed that list very fast. Like I said, for me, honestly, I feel this is the second best Predator film that we have on this planet right now. Next up, we have Possessor, directed by Brendan Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg, and this film is very dark. Out of all the films that I talked about today, this is the most dark film in terms of content. So I very much recommend, if you're weak of stomach or weak of heart, you don't like dark movies with very horrible endings, do not watch this movie. This is a movie with a very, very awful, amazing, crazy concept that would scare the life out of you, for real. A company that is able to take people and turn them into assassins, but how they do it is they take your mind, your consciousness, and put it in the body and mind of somebody else, and you use their body to carry out assassinations. And that is freaking terrifying when you think about it, because we have governments and organizations and companies now that have so much money, billions and billions of dollars, and technology, and where AI and everything is going, that I can see something like this actually happening. And like I said, the performances in here definitely sell it for sure. In terms of Brendan Cronenberg, he picked a perfect cast, because they're cast members that I don't all know from everything. The most famous person here that I know is Jennifer Jason Leigh, but the lead cast members, this was the first time I'd ever seen them in a movie, so it was really cool because it made it so much more immersive for me. And Andrea Riseborough as the lead in here, she floors it for real, and it's crazy to see her. Like I said, she plays our lead protagonist that you kind of follow through the film. It's kind of protagonist, you know, when we get to the end. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, man, she goes through a sick journey, and it kind of shows you what it would be like to be one of these people if you were an assassin, but to be in your mind and go into other people's bodies and just get immersed into their personality, their persona, their mannerisms, how you can lose yourself in that kind of job. And this movie is, like I said, completely terrifying. We're going to end this list with my favorite modern horror film, and that's going to be Evil Dead 2013. And that's because this is my favorite horror film of all time. I love this film. This is, when I think of horror in my mind, this film personifies everything I want in a horror film. This film is low-key a little bit funny, but it's not like funny where it takes me out of it. I like my comedy to be very dark sometimes, and this has very freaking dark humor. The practical effects in here are outstanding, and I love the use of fake blood in here. The scene where it's raining blood and Mia is fighting the Deadite is chef's kiss. One of the best third acts ever in any horror film, and Evil Dead 2013, like I said, captures that vibe of the Sam Raimi films, but they turn the horror up to 11, and that's why I love this film. And a lot of people do call this a remake. It kind of bothers me a little bit. It doesn't make me be like, oh, I want to argue them, but it itches at me a little, because we've had Fede Alvarez and Lee Cronin kind of low-key in interviews tell you that this is supposed to be in the same universe as Ash. That's why I think there's not a character in here named Ashley or Ash. They wanted it to be in the same universe, so I feel like Mia can meet up with some of our other characters from Evil Dead, and I'm really hoping they bring Jane Levy back, because she's fantastic and did a great job in this film. But yeah, Evil Dead 2013 is everything I want in a horror film. This is one that I often rewatch, and yes, even though it has such a dark tone and a brooding, gripping nature to it, and it's very visceral, this one, just like I said, it knocks my socks off. So every time I watch it, I just love it more and more. So thanks for sticking around with me all for this video as we discuss some awesome horror films that have come out in the last, like I said, 10 years. It's been kind of crazy, or like last 2010s. So the last 15 years, it's been kind of crazy and really good. I think horror is firing on all cylinders, and especially the last 4 years, it's been popping. So horror genre, there's so much to love out there. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please shout out down below in the comment section what are some of your favorites that have come out in the most recent years. I would love to discuss with you, and make sure, like I said, you have that notification bell poked so you're notified anytime I drop a video, because we're going to be keeping the spooky content flowing on the Nornrad 89 channel. But most importantly, y'all know what's up. Have a safe and happy day. Peace out.